Hi everyone. Just waiting for some people to make it here with me. Here we go. Share. Hi everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope this is coming through clearly on this platform. You know, Facebook doesn't, me and Facebook, we don't tend to get along that often. So, hi Angelica. So today what I wanted to talk about was spiritual ceremony etiquette. This is a topic I don't think we've ever really touched upon prior, and I think it's really important because it's something that, especially if you're not necessarily coming from the background of this culture, it's something that kind of gets lost in translation. It's not some. It's a lot of times something that we kind of take it for granted that everyone knows this etiquette, but in actuality, it's not something that necessarily everyone naturally knows about etiquette when going to a spiritual party or going to a ceremony. And it's really important to understand, especially if you're going to a ceremony for your very first time, or maybe you're going for the millionth time and you've never basically observed this process. Hola, Ligia. So it's something that a lot of times we see. I've discussed it with various Hungans and Mambos many, many times as far as the etiquette when it comes to attending a spiritual ceremony, attending whether that's a mani, a priye, a fete, a fiesta de palo, fiesta de like atabale, any of those types of ceremonies. It's really important to understand how to enter, how to exit, how it is that you go when you're going to a spiritual ceremony. Hi, Denise. Welcome. And it's there are a bunch of different rules, let's call them etiquette, that comes to attending a ceremony at someone's temple, at their spiritual center, at wherever it is that they're doing these ceremonies. So there's a number of things I want to go over today, and I want to start with the difference. So if you're, I was taught that if I go or I attend as a guest to a spiritual ceremony, if I attend as a guest to a ceremony, especially if you're someone who is a brujo, a bruja, a hunga, a mambo, is that you should always bring something. You should always bring something for the ceremony. That can be candles and a bottle of Florida water. That can be a bottle of liquor. That can be a box of cigars. You should always attempt to bring something, especially if you're attending as a guest, and especially if you're a priest or a priestess. That's number one. Number two is it's a little bit different if you're a member of that spiritual center or that temple. If you're a member of that spiritual center or temple, it should not have to be told to you that you should be there early to assist and you should be staying after the ceremony to assist. Whenever there's a ceremony, generally these things take various days to prepare. It's not just once you got in there, all of that stuff didn't magically appear. So if that's your home temple, if that's the temple where you were initiated, all that setup, it didn't magically just get there. You should be attending early, before the ceremony starts to assist. And after the ceremony is over, you should still be there in order to assist whatever cleanup or whatever process has to happen after the ceremony is over. Here, there's a lot of things that I've witnessed in ceremonies that basically we wouldn't see this happening on the island like that. That's not the way things are done. If you're a member of that temple, not only do you want to show up early to assist and stay after to assist, you also want to contribute. Usually, this may be bringing something for the loi, bringing something. You contact your godparent and say, hey, what is it that we need for this ceremony? Is there anything that I can bring for this ceremony? That might be contributing towards a cake, contributing towards the drums, contributing to some other aspect of the ceremony. Very few people here in the US really, hi darling, very few people here in the US too low FPS. I'm just checking here some little thing that Facebook told me about, you know, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do here. So just give me a second. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do about this. So I'm not really sure. So I can't do nothing about that. I'm not a technical person, so I can't really fix that. So we're just going to have to struggle with it. So anyway, you should always contact your godparent. Very few people here in the US actually, hey Mambo Sandy, very few people here at in the US really understand how much it costs to put on a ceremony. A ceremony where you see drums, if there are drums at your ceremony, there's a ceremony with drums, generally here in the US, that is over $1,000 in drums. And drums can be very expensive. It can run $2,000, it can run $1,500, it can run almost $3,000 in drums. Don't think that the drummers come and play the drum for free, because they don't. The drummers are paid professionals. Okay? Yeah, even if you can't show up in person, you can donate something. Okay? Drummers are paid professionals. And depending on the drum group and where they're coming from, there may be additional costs as far as like their costs to travel. So, sí, es así. Aquí, de verdad, de verdad. Ligia, es por eso que yo prefiero tocar los palos en Santo Domingo. What I was just saying to someone who contacted here, that's why I prefer to actually have drummers play when I do ceremonies in DR, okay? Because the cost of drummers here is crazy as to the price of what drummers cost. Hola, Becky. So, yeah, es caro de verdad. Es caro de verdad. La gente no sabe. Si es un abuso, porque ellos saben que son pocos de ellos y son tantos caballos de misterio que quieren que ellos vengan a jugar los palos. So, the cost of a drum here is really high. Okay? Is really, really high. And what very few people realize is that when you go to a ceremony and there's drums playing, They didn't come there for free. They're paid professionals. They they uh they cost an exorbitant amount of money. Yeah. That's why a ceremony in the US costs so much when we're doing ceremonies. In DR, the prices of drummers is much more reasonable. It's much more reasonable in the DR as far as the cost of the drums. This is also the reason why in a lot of ceremonies you will see that they use CDs, they use music from YouTube. We use clap hands, we sing. It's because of the crazy cost that it costs for the drums. Okay? 15. So Facebook keep on asking me to do something here, but I'm not that I'm not that technically savvy. So we're just gonna have to go with it. Like I said. So that's number one. That does not include the cost of all the materials and everything else that goes into the ceremony. That does not include that the person leading the ceremony oftentimes does not, if they're a spiritual worker, they're not doing very much spiritual worker before or after the ceremony. So that's one thing. Is I was always taught when you're a guest at a ceremony, you should contribute. You want to give a donation. You want to bring a bottle of rum, bring something for the spirits, or bring something for the people. If that's your temple, if that's the temple that you belong to, you should bring something, a donation, bring something, as well as be there before the ceremony to help, be there after the ceremony to help. Many, many times, I've seen people, the moment the ceremony is over, the moment the ceremony is over, they've disappeared, even in their own temples. In fact, I've seen people, the moment that they've gotten their questions answered, whatever it is that they came to receive from the ceremony, they're gone. They're gone. Okay? I've also seen people regularly come to the ceremony late. It's understandable if you're traveling from far away that at times you might arrive at a ceremony late. However, you need to give yourself time for that. It's the same way, like if you were going to work and you know that there's a lot of traffic on your way to work or your workplace is far away, you make sure you give yourself enough time to get there so that you get there on time. Okay? Many, many people regularly arrive late once the ceremony has already commenced and regularly leave the moment the ceremony is over. If that's your temple, that's not really your right. Okay? It's not really within your right to leave as soon as the ceremony is over. Do not be surprised if this is you, if you at some point, by the leading priests and priestesses and the closest members of the family, do not get treated like family because you are not acting like family. You are not acting like family when you skate out as soon as the ceremony ends. You are not acting like family if you skate in after all the hard work is done. Guinea, the Misterios, the Loi, they see it all and all of it is considered service. I was taught when I was young that the Misterios don't care if you're sweeping the floor or if you're setting up the altar or if you're doing the salute. All of it is service. If you're wiping down the chairs, that's just as an important service as the person who's doing the salute, just as important as the person who is singing the songs. Yeah, as what Mambo G here said, there's a lot of things that go on. So that's number one. Another secondary thing is there's a common thing that I see people do, and people do this even on the island too, that when a misterio or a loi comes, everybody rushes to it and surrounds it. If a misterio wants to talk to you, it's going to come up to you and talk to you. If it wants to talk to you, it'll point you out and call you to come to it. There's no need for you to rush up and surround the misterio. There's no need for that. If the misterio has something to say to you, it will be said to you. That's number one. Number two is, if a misterio does not talk to you, it does not mean that the misterio has not worked on you. Understand that when the misterio is there, it's not just in the body of the person, the whole energy, the whole fuerza of that misterio is all over the room. And it can be cleansing you, blessing you, protecting you, doing all types of things for you without ever saying a word to you, without speaking to you. It's not necessary that the misterio come and speak with you every time. The misterio does not need to be in the head of someone in order to communicate with you or in order to work on you. So that's another big thing that happens during ceremonies that I see, is that a lot of people will like to kind of bum rush the spirit, surround the spirit, and kind of like really be pressed about trying to get in there with the spirit. Give the spirit some space. You don't need to be all up in the spirit's face. If it has something to say to you, it will call upon you. It will call out its message to you if it has to. But when you don't give the spirit space, it doesn't allow the spirit to move freely where it needs to do and to do what it wants to do. Okay? Oh yeah, I'm sure you see this at Santeria drummings. I'm sure you do. Okay? Oh, that's another thing. Another thing, I've heard this too in other places. If a misterio doesn't come and talk to you, then it really wasn't there. Well, if you are really connected to that misterio, you don't need for that misterio in somebody else's head to come and talk to you. That misterio can come and talk to you when you're at your altar, in your house, on the toilet. That misterio can come and talk to you whenever it wants. If you're smart, right, you say to yourself, maybe there's other people here that have worse situations than myself, that the misterio comes and needs to talk to them. They need it more. You have to understand that the caballo de misterio, the horse of the spirit, okay, can only hold the misterio in their body for so long. So if all you're saying is, necesito un saludo, I need them to come shake my hand, you're wasting time of the misterio. The misterio can be out here doing something or talking to someone who really, really needs it. Okay? The misterio does not need to greet you. You are no one that special or important that the misterio needs to come and greet you. You have to remember, it's the misterio who is the divine spirit. It's the misterio who's the king or the queen. Okay? You are servidor. You are the servant of the mystery. It's up to the misterio to come speak to you. No one would say, that's not really the president because he didn't come and say hi to me. No one will come and say, how dare the president not say hi to me? Okay? But a lot of people have this ego about the misterio coming and talking to them. One thing I noticed in a lot of ceremonies here in America is that a lot of people don't pay attention to the elders. Because if you pay attention to the elders, one thing that you would notice is how the elders behave when a misterio comes. If you've been to a ceremony of mine, and when a misterio comes in someone else's head, hi Marie love, when a misterio comes in someone's head, you will not see me bum rushing the misterio. You will not see me rushing into the misterio space. A lot is learned in these traditions via observation. And if you don't have the power to observe, then you're going to miss out on a lot. A lot is learned through the power of observation, observing the elders and their behavior. Okay? Hi, Kiera. Yep. No news is good news. That's what I always say. Right? I always watch, like Becky here said, I always watch from a distance. If the Misterio wants to say something to me, it'll call me. It'll say, Hunga. It'll say, you. It'll call me up. It'll point me out. And it can say what it needs to say from far away because I don't care about no privacy. I'm not here for you. I'm here for the Misterios. So if the Misterio wants to yell the message out and loud, I'm not ashamed. Okay? You can't shame someone who has no shame. And that's me. So there's no need for that. Okay. So Vini Vini, you're gonna have to find Vini Vini. It's spelled Vinivini in a botanica, darling. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're at. Sometimes, okay, you come to the ceremony and the spirit doesn't say nothing to you, okay? But it works on you. And that night, a spirit comes to you in your dream and it tells you what it needs to tell you. It comes in your dream or it comes in a vision to tell you what it needed to tell you, okay? So that's another thing. The third thing is, when the Misterio is there, this is not really a time for personal consultations. Be considerate of the fact there's other people there that may need to also see the Misterio. There's other people there that the Misterio may need to talk to. Okay? This is not a time for you to sit there and hog up all the time of the Misterios. Hey, May May. Right? It's not a time where you need to be there hogging up the time of the Misterios. If the Misterio comes and tells you something, or the Loa comes and tells you something, take your message and keep it pushing. Take your message and move along. If you have questions about that, if you have further questions, limit yourself. Ask a single question and keep it moving. Let the Spirit tell you what it needs to tell you. Okay? If the Spirit allows you to ask a question, ask your question, get your answer, and keep it moving. This is not a time for a personal consultation. If you need more information after that, book a consultation with the Hungan or Mambo in charge or the caballo of that misterio if they are a worker. If they are a worker, then you can book a consultation with them. If they are not, you can book a consultation with the Hungan or Mambo in charge. So there's no need to act all crazy when a misterio comes in possession. The misterio sees you. It doesn't need to be in possession to see you. It sees you. It sees that you're there. If it needs to work on you, it can work on you. It doesn't need to touch you in order to work on you. It doesn't need to interact with you in order to give you a message. That's why it's called a misterio. That's why it's a mystery. It's a mystery in how it works. It doesn't need to be all up in your face 24/7 in order for it to be understood. Now, another thing that I see people doing in ceremonies, which is mind-blowing, is normally a caballo de misterio, someone who horses the spirit, might horse 1, 2, maximum 3 spirits in a ceremony. Maximum. And that's a caballo that's quite unraveled, and it's because that's necessary. I see a lot of people that the moment that any little thing, they get a little goosebump, and then they're and they're ready to get to be possessed and etc. No, that's not how it works. For a lot of caballos de misterio, they spent a long time being the caballo of one misterio before they moved on to another. Okay? They need to be, they've been a long time. And here's the problem when you start comparing yourself, because when you start comparing yourself, a lot of times people be comparing themselves to idiots, to people who don't know what the hell that they're doing. Be careful who you compare yourself to. If a person comes to a ceremony and they get mounted with 4, 5, 6 spirits, I doubt it. I doubt it. In DR, you know what we call that? We call that misterio de pañuelo. That means wasn't no misterio there. They just wanted to wear a fula. They just wanted some attention. They just wanted a mouchoir on their head. It's very common in a ceremony, okay? Sometime the spirit, it starts to tocar la persona. It starts to touch the person, and the person starts to get a little wobbly. And then they regain their composure. It's very common in a ceremony where the misterio doesn't have to come. There are ceremonies where we carry things on our head, right? And all that we're looking for is for the misterio to kind of put la corriente, start to give the power. And that power is not meant to mount, because it's meant to mount into the object that's being carried on the head. It's not meant to go in the head of the person. It's meant to go in the object that the person is carrying right here. Okay? And so all that's needed, all the misterio is looking to do, is to run the power through the body and up to this object. But a lot of people in America, in fact, a lot of people in DR don't know that. It's not every time you get a little goosebump that you're going to get mounted. It's not every time that you feel an energy that you're going to get mounted. It takes a lot of energy for the misterio to mount. When the moment that you feel a little breeze, okay, you start with, okay, the elders look. You lose not only respect from the elders, but you also lose respect from the misterios. Okay, you lose a lot of respect of from the misterios. Of course, Denise, get in touch with us. Okay, you lose a lot of respect. Then later on, people wonder why it is that bad thing happened to you, or that the misterio is not responding to you. And it's because, you put on a Broadway show. You're misrepresenting the misterio. Okay? You're doing what we call team too damn much. Me, for years and years and years, the only misterio that I mounted was Giri. For years. Eventually, after some years of just Giri, then came Ogun. So it's not that, you know, you get baptized tomorrow and then the next day you're mounting every misterio under the sun. Okay? Yeah. In in a ceremony, and like what you see said with your godfather, it took him probably time to develop to the point to be mounting all those misterios in one night. Okay? It took him time. He didn't start mounting all those cuatro misterios, those four misterios in one night. That took many months and many years of desarrollo, which is called evolution here. Evolution in English, okay? It took many years of developing and developing their powers, okay? That's a good example right there that Lija mentions, okay? He has 50 years working misterios, and in a night of working misterios, he might end up with four. These days, I see people with 1 year of working misterios, and at a ceremony, se montan con, in a ceremony, they're in 7 and 8 misterios, and I'm like, ay, Dios mío. I just look around and I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go home. Hey, Red. Okay, that's not how that works. One doesn't go from never having had a misterio in your head, never having been mounted, hi Michelle, to now mounting 50 spirits, 5 spirits, 6 spirits, 8 spirits in one single ceremony. That's ridiculous. Okay? If you've ever really developed a relationship with a spirit, you know that it takes time. And that time, in that time, you also have to develop trust with each other. And in that time of developing with each other, that relationship and that trust, okay? Buenas, Carlos. In in that time of developing that relationship and that trust, eventually, in time, the misterio eventually come to mount you. Okay? And there's times people who have developed the ability to mount earlier on in their life where that process goes a lot quicker. But even then, usually most people they spend years just mounting one or two misterios before they start mounting another. Part of the reason why societies exist, cofradia, hermandades, societe, whatever you call it, is because one person can't mount all the misterios. Even if you have someone who is a caballo universal, they're a universal caballo, they can mount all the spirits. That person in one ceremony, that one body cannot handle mounting all of the misterios in one night. Right? And hi, Day Day, long time no see. Yes. And building up the physical ability to hold the spirit because it's taxing. Hi, Chrissy, blessings. I've seen, okay, people that had never mounted a misterio, just to say some tag on to something Angelica said, who never mounted a misterio, who are more powerful than those who run around, I, 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 mounted every other minute. When you do that, everywhere, you should be embarrassed. That's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for you. Okay? Every misterio in a ceremony does not need to mount. Okay? I have a goddaughter. Okay? The show. Yeah, the Broadway show. I have a goddaughter that she was with us for many, 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 many years before she ever mounted at all. Okay? Then she started mounting La Sirene. And that was for a number of years that she mounted La Sirene. Just recently, within the past year or so, she started mounting San Miguel. I say between the past maybe 2 years. And even till this day, that mounting is still unraveling. It's still developing. They're still developing to the point to be able to get fully mounted and contained for that body to be able to keep San Miguel there long enough to do all types of trabajos. That's normal. What's not normal is you never mounted a misterio and tomorrow you're mounting them all. What's not normal is every time somebody plays a little song, you're all like, no, that's not normal. That's the show. Okay? That's the big show. And it's not cute. It's disrespectful. And it's disrespectful to the misterio. You can't say that you love the misterio and do disrespectful stuff. Another thing I see that goes on in ceremony, okay, is this is not a time for you to socialize. This is not your social hour. This is not the time for you to socialize. If you want to socialize a little bit when everybody's eating, está bien, great. If you want to socialize before the ceremony starts, after the ceremony ends, fine. When a misterio is there, okay, a misterio is present, there's no need for everybody to talk. What are y'all talking for? Okay? What are y'all talking for? The divine is in the building and you over here talking about crackers and Ritz and fucking cheese doodles and shit. Nobody gives a fuck. What are you talking about? Are you here for the loi? Or are you here to socialize? Get out of that. This is not social club. If you want a social club temple, especially here at my temple, if you want a social club temple, go find yourself one. There's plenty here that exist in the U.S. that all they are social clubs. They're not real temples. They don't run. They don't have ceremony. They don't call the loi. They don't do real work. All they do is sit around and socialize. You can go join one of those. Don't come to my house to socialize. It's not make a friend day. Okay? Hey, Mamo J. Hope you had a great Easter. For real, yeah. When the misterios are talking, you should be listening. Okay? The people say here. This is not a time for you to hee ha ha kiki it up. Kiki it up on your own time. And if you can't kiki it up with that person on your own time, then maybe y'all really ain't friends like that. Maybe you should leave that where it's at. Maybe they're not that interested in kikiing it up with you. Because if the only time you see each other that you have time to kiki it up is at a ceremony, then y'all ain't friends like that. Leave it where it belongs. And not a time for friendship. Okay? There's not a time to make friends and all of that. We don't care about your feelings. Okay? What a lot of people don't understand is me, I don't play with these things. Because these things, they're not fun and games. That's why in the island we say this is for adults. This is not for children. Because they're dangerous. A lot of people don't understand the loi de misterio, it could take your life. It can, it happens. Okay, if you're used to other, traditions where there's no real consequences, if you're a Christian where there's no real consequences for your sins, if you're like from another background where there is no real power, then you don't understand. Okay, I've seen people dead for little things. For little things. Things such as throwing away a bottle that had a drop in it. Okay? For a little drop. I've seen people thrown down the steps for doing little things. When there is a loi de verdad, a misterio de verdad, you are going to pay consequences for these things. And later on, in the weeks after the ceremony, a lot of people who don't have respect end up having all these problems and then wonder why. And because people lack the capacity to take responsibility, then they're like, what happened? Why the misterio this? What da 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 da? No, when you break the law, it breaks you. Yeah, it's real in these spiritual streets, for real. Okay? When shit starts going left in your life after a ceremony, don't look at the next guy. Look at yourself first, because that's what I always do. I always look at myself and say, what did I do? What could I have done better? What should I have done? Okay? The time of a ceremony is not a time either for you to be on your phone. So many people are obsessed with the phone. Especially if you're an initiate. So many people are used to the phone. They gotta be taking pictures. They gotta be talking on the phone. That's not the time for that. If you can't stay away from your phone for a few hours, then maybe you shouldn't come to a ceremony. Okay? Yeah. Mambo Sandy says she was thrown down the steps by Papa Ogu for not asking to leave. That's another thing. A lot of people are so obsessed with coming to a ceremony to take and then leave. And I'm not saying this was her case, but so many people are. I've seen when there's a misterio in possession, you cannot leave a ceremony. You need to wait till that misterio leaves. Then you need to ask the Hungan or Mambo, the person throwing the ceremony, can I leave now? If that ceremony is still going on. I really suggest if you can't stay for the whole thing, don't go at all. If you can't stay for the whole thing, don't go. Okay? Okay? If you can't stay, just don't go. I've seen a lot of people. We had somebody that's exactly what they did because they got their message, they got what they needed. They got upset that they had to ask to leave, so they left anyway because they're grown, okay? Right now that person is rolling around in a wheelchair. Be grown now. And in that case, the law took no time to waste that punishment. On their way home, they got into a really bad car accident. They're in a wheelchair now. If you cannot stay the entire ceremony, stay home. A lot of people don't understand that these things are really serious. And you've got into this Americanized culture of all that matters is you, what you want, what you feel like doing, your schedule, etc., then stay in your American culture and stay away from the ceremony. Remember that the Loi doesn't care about none of that. I'm lucky in that I don't have, with many of my initiates, many of the issues that I'm talking about, we don't experience most of these problems. But we occasionally do because we're a big society. And every once in a while, and sometimes people got to learn. And sometimes you got to feel in order to learn. Another thing. Once the ceremony is over, okay, yeah, it's not about us. It's about giving back. That's why we're called servidor. That's why and it doesn't matter which branch of voodoo you are. In all of them, you're a servite. You're a servidor. You're a servant of the spirit. Another big thing, this is a big one, is at the end of the ceremony is not the time for you to go up to the horses of the spirits to ask questions. I know, I get it, I get it. Most people only care about themselves. The horses of the spirit already did a huge service by lending their body to the spirits. Now's not the time to ask questions. If you have questions, you need further advisement, book a consultation with the horse. Like I said, if they're not a worker, then book a consultation with the Hunganar Mambo in charge. It's not a time for questions. It's not the time for you to ask questions about whatever messages were given to you. If the Loi says to you, speak to the horse, that means book a consultation with the horse at a later date. If the Loi says to you, you need a recipe, you need this or that recipe from the horse, then that means you need to book a consultation to get that recipe at a later date. The truth is, having been a horse for a long time, when that person comes back to their body, they're just trying to recuperate. They're just trying to regain their senses and control over their limbs. They're just trying to get their brain put back together. The same way you obviously don't care about them, they don't care about you and your problem. Like they say, the lifeguard has to be able to save himself first if he hopes to save anybody else. Okay? He can't save nobody if he can't save himself. So after a ceremony is not the time for you to come up to a horse or to come up to the Hunganar Mambo who's been running the thing all night, all day, for you to ask your personal questions. Book a session. That's the right way to do it. That's the respectful way of doing things. Okay? I understand that for the most part, the Caribbean form of respect and American form of respect is very, very different. Very different. Hugely different. Okay? Because if I would have done that back in my day, my aunt would have just slapped me in the face. And guess what? Respect says I would have shut my mouth, looked down on the ground, and kept it pushing. And I bought myself esa galleta, like we call it. I bought myself that smack. And in the island, especially like in Haiti, it's not uncommon for elders to physically slap even grown people when they're out of line. Another thing is when we're in a ceremony, and that's a big one, that last one about asking people a bunch of questions after they've been mounted and running a ceremony the whole night. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's rude. It's disrespectful. It's egotistical. It shows how much you have your head up your ass. It's a big testament to you having your head up your ass. Okay. Another thing is when you get a message, in my temple, we luck out. We have uh, Nicole, we have Mambo G, we have a number of people who go around writing down the messages for people and so that you don't have to worry about it. Most temples, it's not that way. In reality, it's not the job of anyone else to make sure that you remember or have your message. It's your job. I suggest people keep like a little pen and paper. This would be the only time it would be okay for you to pull out your phone for you to write notes on a message that you receive because it's no one else's job, okay, to make sure that you have your message. It's no one else's job to hold on to or remember your message for you. That's your job. It's your message. We're lucky and we appreciate them, like Becky said, for doing all of that for people. But it's really like that's a plus that we do for people, especially because, you know, um, we have a lot of people who attend virtually, and sometimes y'all can't hear. And really, 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 that's what my aplazas who are also taking notes are there for. Is for people who are on the computer attending virtually who can't hear. Sometimes the computer goes out. That's not uncommon in our ceremonies. Sometimes the computer freezes. Sometimes you can't hear it. A lot of times when certain loa come, that computer goes out. And if you are attending a ceremony virtually and the computer goes out, don't flip out, don't freak out, etc., etc. We're doing a big service to try to get you to be able to attend, including, you know, the computer in a space where that's not the way we always done things. And not only that, sometimes the energy of the loi knocks that computer out. So it's not always something that we can control. Sometimes the computer gets knocked out, and no matter how hard we try, we can't get it back online. And the Wi-Fi be fine, there be signal, there be battery, but it won't come back on. Or sometimes there be signal, there be battery and all of that, but the video won't come back on. It happens. If you're someone who's attending virtually, if for whatever reason you miss a message, we have a number of people that I mentioned just recently who are going around making sure that they're taking down those messages for you because we understand ceremonies can be really loud and you can't always hear. Especially you can't always hear. I'll tell you especially when. When a bunch of people are talking during times that they don't have no business talking because it's for you to listen. It becomes even harder to hear. Also, it becomes hard to hear at times when we're playing music. Or sometimes the misterio wants the music playing while it's there. Okay? Sometimes the misterio wants the music. So with music, drums especially, if we have, a bunch of people talking, then we understand for those people that are online. That's why we write the notes. That's why I get the notes out to you and everything like that. Another thing is, my aunt and my godmother in Vodou, most Hungans, Mambos, Brujos, and Brujas who run a ceremony, guess what? Don't bother them the day before that. So basically, for 2 days prior to the ceremony, and usually 2 days after the ceremony, leave them alone. They've done a lot. They need time to recuperate from a ceremony. A ceremony takes a lot. It's very taxing on people, especially the person leading the ceremony, because there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you never see if you've never run a ceremony. You can go to 1,000 ceremonies. If you've never run one, there's 1,001 other things that are going on. Hungans and Mambos who are running ceremonies are also making sure that certain types of spirits aren't entering the ceremony. That's why it's not a time for you to sit there and try to chit chat us up when we're sitting there. It may appear like we're not doing anything, but we are. We're making sure that the door is closed to certain spirits. The door is open to certain spirits. Sometimes we're drawing certain spirits. The most important thing within these things is to sit down. Don't be in a rush. Take your time to learn. I'm going to give you an example. Okay? If you have a Freda ceremony and Gere shows up before Freda, that ceremony is no good. Freda's not accepting. Look at that. If you're having a ceremony for Metre Zili and Gere shows up before her, ceremony is not accepted. This is why it's important to take your time to learn. Not anytime you feel a little breeze, getting mounted. Okay? That's why just because the spirit does try to come to you and mount doesn't mean you should allow it to mount. We say that ceremony, crises. It's no good if Gere shows up before Freda. It's no good. It's not accepted. Even if Freda comes and she takes a little bite here and there, takes whatever she's going to take, she didn't fully accept that ceremony. Whatever blessing's supposed to come from that ceremony, you might not get it. This is why it's important to take time to learn. Another time, because I hear this often, is during a ceremony is not a time where, especially people who are running things and putting things together and who are doing the work, it's not a time that we can sit here and babysit your feelings. It's not a time that we can watch out for everyone's feelings. There's going to be times where someone's going to say to you, go get that. Hurry up, go get that. And if you're really, if you have thin skin, if you're extra sensitive, okay, then you're going to get your feelings all hurt and get offended when in reality it's not an offense. And again, if you were in my aunt's day, just you getting offended would cause her to slap you. How dare you get offended when an elder tells you to do something? It's no different. We have a saying, you can't be an adult when you want to and a child when you want to. You're either one or you're the other. Okay? It's not beneficial for you to be all super sensitive like someone says here. Okay, like Becky said here, when you're at a ceremony. Sometimes the santo, the misterio, who's asking for something is not a patient one. Sometimes Danto wants her knife and she wants that shit right now. And over here, oh, can you please go grab the knife? And it's got to be a 30-minute explanation to you. Is going to cause problems. It's going to cause problems. Okay? A ceremony is not a time to be all up in your feelings. Sometimes it's gonna come off as if it's being rude, but it's not. It's simply like, hey, hurry up, we need this right now. It's not a time for you to be all extra sensitive. Oh, she talked to me this way. No one cares. No one who knows what they're doing really cares. Okay? If you're that easily offended, maybe our tradition is not for you. Hi, Bonnie. Hey, Dre. Maybe our tradition is not for you because our tradition is a tradition of warriors. And the general doesn't always say to his soldiers, oh, can you please go get the gun? Please, pretty please. Sometimes the general says, go get the damn gun. Okay? It is problematic in these days. Okay? The general says, go get the gun. Hurry up. We need the gun. When the enemy is coming, it is not a time for, oh, can you please get the gun? I hope I don't offend you. Can you get it? Are you okay, sweetie? You okay? Okay, go get the gun, please. No. The enemy is coming. Get the fucking gun. Stop acting like a little bitch ass. Okay? This is not a time for you to be a little bitch. Be a little bitch in your personal life. Okay? Sometimes the misterios, you don't know what they're coming to do. And sometimes the misterios, we say in the art, we call it empetrosal, right? They're already hot. They're already fiery. They're already ready to cut somebody's head off. Hi, Vicky. They're already ready for that. Okay? And me sitting around here, oh, can you please, can you please? I'm wasting time. I'm wasting time. Okay? If it's already. Oh, yeah. Sometimes that's true what Angelica said here, alright? Sometimes if you're not ready, yeah, that's true too. Two things. Angelica says, they'll be ready to leave if you aren't ready and you sit around wasting time. Yeah. Sometimes the misterio come and they're like, give me this. And if you don't give it to them right away and you're not ready for them and you're wasting time, they leave. Okay? That's one. Number two, what Ligia said, sometimes the misterio will just straight up slap you. Okay? Because you're not ready. Definitely, if you can't take the heat, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out, because we got other soldiers and warriors who can take the heat. Okay? People should be paying attention and be on the ready, but you can't be paying attention and be on the ready, Mambo Sandy, when you're sitting around here having social conversations. You're over here socializing. Okay? Like, a lot of people get the wrong idea of what it means to come to a ceremony. This is not, your Broadway show. Ijo. I've had plenty of smacks in my day. And never once was I mad at the misterios, and never once was I mad at my godparent when my godparent smacked me. Or even when an elder of mine might have smacked me. More so along the lines, I was like, basically what I did, let me take responsibility, and how can I do better next time? You live, you learn. Okay? Sometimes the Ogu goes around smacking people with the side of the machete. He's not going to cut you, but he'll smack you with the side of that machete. And that shit hurts. And that's okay. But it's not a time for you to be like, wah, 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 wah. You're dealing with power here. You're not dealing with games. You're dealing with something that is powerful and real powerful. It doesn't need to sit here and worry about how you're feeling. Okay? It's not worried about that. No, spiritual work is not all glitter and games. It's very raw. And this is how you learn things. It is. It's very much how you learn things. Okay? Nobody goes in knowing everything. I didn't come in knowing everything. Little by little, I had to learn. And sometimes, for me to learn good, I need una buena pecosa. A good slap. Okay? And guess what? When you get taught with a slap, I bet you don't make the mistake again. I sure don't. Maybe you do, because some people need multiple slaps. But I don't. Understand that when you're entering this culture, you're not entering your American culture. Your American culture is where everybody cares about, oh, your feelings. Oh, mwah, mwah, mwah. Your American culture, they're like, oh, you can't beat the children. Caribbean culture says, beat them. I got plenty of beatings. And every one, I deserved every one. There's a difference between discipline and abuse. And I was in a place that where I come from, my beatings were discipline. And everyone I got, for the most part, I deserved. And the ones that I didn't deserve, okay? The ones that I didn't deserve, well, guess what? They were payment for things I got away with that I never got caught. Right? They say for every one time you get caught, there was 10 times you did the thing and never got caught. Gotta catch up with me. Okay? So, it's not supposed to feel good. Okay? So, when you come into this culture, and one day, me and Mambo Sandy and Unsi Sincere, we were sitting around talking about this. Okay? These things are little things. Because when I was growing up, a lot of people, the type of beatings that they would get, or even the type of beatings that my grandparents endured, we call those slave beatings, because they used to beat people in the Caribbean like slaves, using those same exact slave practices. So, a little slap, that's nothing to me, okay? Because my grandmother told me that back in the day, when they would get punished, they would take a block of ice and they would sprinkle salt on it. And they would have you take off your clothes and sit on that block of ice with salt, and that shit would burn the shit out of you. Okay? I know people that their punishment was they would have their hands placed inside the windowsill, and they would get the window slammed on their hands. Am I saying that it's right? No. Am I saying that it's good? No. But you know what I am saying? I'm saying that's what the slave masters did. And that's what they taught the people. Grand evening, Shiloh. That's what the slave masters did. And that's what they taught the people. And now, the rest of us, minority Caribbean people, Black American people, okay, we still have this as a part of our culture. And the funny thing is, the people who want to criticize and judge us are the descendants of the same people who did that to our ancestors. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. A lot of times nowadays, the people who are very critical of the way that minorities, Caribbeans, how we discipline people or discipline our children, a lot of those people who are most critical are the descendants of the same people who did that to our ancestors. Okay? When you go to getting back on topic, because that's a whole nother live. I think like me and Mambo Sandy, I think both of us got a lot to say about that. I think we should do like, I don't remember how you do it, but I'm sure there's a way you do it where you do those lives. Yeah, yeah, Joanne. The same where me and Mambo Sandy, I think together we should do a live where we talk about those things. Because if you think about it, okay, the way that they beat the slaves is now oftentimes the way that we or our parents beat us. But now, the same people who beat the slaves or the descendants of those people are saying, oh no, don't beat the children. But that's what you imposed. That's what your own ancestors did. Okay? So, back to ceremony, back to parties. Another thing is, if you're a guest, if you're someone, you've never been there, you're a guest, or maybe you've been there before, but you're still a guest, you're not an initiate there, don't be disrespectful to people whose house it is. There are initiates there. If an initiate tells you to do something, like basically don't sit there, sit over there, do it. You're a guest in the house. You are not a member. You are a guest. I see that too. Well, I'm not doing it. I don't got to do it. Actually, you do. Because in my godmother's house, with that type of attitude, you're just going to get yourself put out. If one of the initiates asks you to do something, usually that came from the top down. And if you don't listen, you're just going to get put out. You're going to be asked to leave. The next thing is, if you're an initiate, and an initiate older than you asks you to do something, just go do it. And if that initiate, what they told you to do was wrong, they're going to be in trouble for it. You're not getting in trouble for it because you listened to an elder to you. They're going to be the ones that's going to be in trouble, not you. You don't even have to worry about that. If what they told you to do was wrong and you don't know any better, then they're the ones in trouble, not you. But if they told you to do something and you didn't go do it, you're going to be the one that's in trouble. If so, in our temple, like Mambo Sandy, she's an elder. She's been with us forever. She's an elder in our temple. If Mambo Sandy, I already know. If Mambo Sandy tells you to go do something, she's not going to tell you to do something that I wouldn't have approved of. You don't need to get the word directly from me. If you're like, I'm not going to do it because Papa didn't say to do it, you're being disrespectful. Because if she told you to do something, then I told you to do it. Whether or not I told her to tell you. She's been here long enough that she knows what to do and what not to do. Okay? It's the equivalent of me having told you to do something. And if you told her, no, I'm not doing it because, I didn't hear Papa tell me directly, then basically what you said was, what Papa asked me to do, I'm not doing it. That's fine. Like I said, when the misterios come and give you the payment for disrespect, don't be like, what happened? Am I cursed? Is there a brujeria on me? Did I do something wrong? Did I disrespect the misterios? Yes, you did, because the misterios follow a line of hierarchy of order. So just by not listening to your elder telling you to do something, because your ego demands that Papa tell you directly, that's your ego again. Just because of that, you were disrespectful. And therefore, as the result, the Misterio will handle that. Okay? Yeah, you did come with the foundation. The cement, baby. So, these are all things to basically, like, if you're going to go to a ceremony anywhere, and this just doesn't apply here, it applies any voodoo temple you go to, anywhere they serve the misterios, carry yourself that way. Carry yourself with respect. We have a saying, in order to receive honor, you have to give respect. In order to receive respect, you have to walk with honor. Walk with honor and respect, and you will get honor and respect. Okay? A lot of these things, for people who have not grown up in the culture, kind of new for you. The idea of it is common sense, but common sense is highly uncommon. It's highly uncommon, which makes it uncommon sense. So, actually, what we're speaking about here is uncommon sense. Why? Because if it was common, everyone would do it. Okay? So, think about these things. If you're inviting someone as a guest to a ceremony, maybe you should have them watch this live too. I'm going to be putting this on my YouTube channel, so maybe you should send them over there to watch this before they come. Especially if that person has never shown up to a ceremony. Let me tell you something. When someone innately has honor and respect, and there's someone I'm thinking about, okay? One of my goddaughters brought one of her future godchildren to a ceremony. That person she had never been to a ceremony. But because she carried herself with honor and respect, because when she saw that there was something needed, she came and she lended a hand. Lots of people already thought she was a member of the temple. Lots of people thought that, she's an initiate already. Why? Because she carries herself with honor and respect. Okay? And that girl had never been to a ceremony, and from day one, because she carries herself with honor and respect, people were like, oh, they thought she was a member. They thought she already initiated. Because she knows how to carry herself. Okay? Because when you carry yourself with honor and respect, you receive honor and respect. So, that's all I have for this live. I know I went a little bit over here. I usually try to, keep it to an hour because, I don't like holding anyone up on the computer forever. But many blessings to you guys. I will be starting to do, yeah, she was. Okay. I will be planning to do, at least for the next few weeks, the lives a bit earlier. As you see, I came on early today, simply because the spiritual schedule has been really crazy. Okay. Yeah, Bonnie, you know how to raise kids, because your kids do walk with honor and respect. I've seen it. Love you so much, Marie. You're most welcome. Joanne, you're welcome. Angelica, most welcome. Becky. Okay. Welcome, Mambo J. Welcome, Mambo Sandy. I will be probably doing the lives between 3 and 4. Love you lots, Michelle. You're welcome. Between 3 and 4 ish, probably kind of switching back and forth in these upcoming weeks. Love you, Ty. Love you, Bonnie. Oh, yeah. Just throw me a line, Joanne. We can definitely get that together. You're most welcome, Miguel. Most welcome, Mambo G. Love you, TTJ. Um, so I will be kind of like switching between 3 and 4, 3 and 4. You're most welcome, Denise. 3 and 4 or so in the next few weeks, simply because I have a bunch of things coming up. Love you, Alex. Love you, Lavetta. I have a bunch of things coming up that we're doing. I'm making preparations for the temple. We're planting the Bukan shortly within this month. So I'm moving the lives to like 3 or 4 on Mondays. It'll be between 3 and 4. I'll try to like make a announcement before I do it, unlike today, so that we can all meet up here together. If not, you can always catch the replay. I appreciate all of you guys for coming and spending your time with me here. Many blessings as always. Keep the faith.